Welcome back, everyone. It's time for our next session. In fact, talking about the next topic, we do believe that the entire Bharat, for that matter, had the opportunity to go completely digital, especially because of pandemic. But one thing is that one thing that is always playing a caveat in terms of technology is the cybersecurity, because as we all know, everything that happens online, it's definitely one of the most attacked profiles that we come across. But most importantly, it's always important. It's time to find out how do we navigate, whether it's through people, through processes, or platforms. So in the era of resilience that we so badly want to get through, how do we look at cybersecurity and how do we get through all of it? So let's try to gather a lot of insights coming in from some amazing speakers who truly are thought leaders in this particular fraternity of the industry that we're focusing on. First up, I'm going to quickly introduce our set of speakers, firstly with our moderator, Mr. Jaspreet Singh, who's a partner and national leader, client and markets, technology and transformation with Grant Thornton Bharat LLP. In fact, he's someone who's been focusing on technology and transformation over the years and has been is in fact the right voice today to share his thoughts with us and also extract the perspectives from fellow speakers. Let me go ahead and introduce them for all of you. We have with us Babitha, who's a CISO with CSB Bank Limited, who comes with more than 19 years of vast experience in the IT and security in banking and finance sector. We have with us Mr. N.B. Nathan, Senior Vice President, Information Security, CISO, Equitas, a small finance bank limited, who's been in the industry for the past 20 years, having worked in the areas of systems, including networking, application development, database, risk, and information security. We also have with us Mr. Rupesh Pawar, CISO, Universal Sompo General Insurance Company Limited, who is a result-oriented professional with more than 18 years of experience in information security. We are also joined by Mr. Shashank Bajpai, CISO, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India Limited, who is a subject matter expert in cybersecurity technology and information security compliance. Including in the list of all our stalwart speakers, our eminent panelists, we are also joined by Mr. Vinit, Sinha, Director Cybersecurity, Mastercard, who's a risk management professional with over 15 years of cross-functional experience in delivering optimal solution results and business value in high-growth environment as well. And that leaves me with our final panelists. We have with us Mr. Bhavesh Kumar Pandey, also the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, with Poonawalla FinCorp Limited. In fact, he is someone who comes with global experience and knowledge spanning traditional security disciplines and emerging security trends. So on that note, I know it's a high-geared or rather a top-geared panel discussion that's lined up for all of you. This is something that you don't want to miss out on. So with that, in just a couple of seconds, let me quickly bring on the main screen all our set of speakers to come together and to talk about cybersecurity in the era of resilience. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to all my fellow panelists and thanks for giving us this opportunity to come and talk today on what is one of the most pertinent topics, right? Cybersecurity. And thanks for the introduction and linking it to resilience. No matter how many CIOs, CISOs, or board members you talk to, nobody today wants to get up early in the morning, look at the name of their company, their organization in the front page of a newspaper because of a cyber attack or a ransomware attack. On the other hand, whenever we talk about a journey, let's break it down into three pieces, right? Let's talk about what's happening now, what's the immediate future, 6 to 12 months, and what's the future going to look like, right? None of these conversations are today possible without having cybersecurity personnel in the room, right? And that's what all boardrooms are also doing, right? Given that cybersecurity is actually moving from the IT room to the boardroom, where all business strategies have a very, very key ingredient on cybersecurity inbuilt into them. And we don't need to go far, right? Let's only talk about what's happening in India. If you look at last 6 months, almost more than 10 plus companies in national critical infrastructure have suffered ransomware attacks, which not only leads to brand losses or losses around finance, but it also leads to lack of trust when people want to transact with such organizations. So it's very, very important that we look at cybersecurity and resilience in one single bucket. One of my favorite reports is the Global Risk Report published by United Nations. And 2019, the risk report said that for a pandemic to affect more than seven countries is only 10% probability. And 2 years down the line, right, we've got a pandemic which has affected almost 180 plus countries. We don't know what the future is going to bring along, bringing in massive changes in how we work and thus impacting the cybersecurity. Right. With this, uh, I'll start with some opening thoughts from our fellow panelists before we get into the question answer pieces. Babitha, starting with you, you're the first one on my screen, right? So when you got an invite on this conference, right, and then you saw the topic talking about financial services, being such an esteemed CISO yourself, what were the first thoughts that came to you?
Jaspreet, as you rightly said, no, every day taking the newspaper to see that any of the companies got attacked with ransomware or the kind of thing, and the hot seat we CISOs are in is really is a day by day it is a nightmare for us. And rightly said, it is a reputational loss which is really affecting the company or organization, rather than, because we have got enough security aspects or technologies in line with us which will help us to come back to the normalization. But that is what we have to worry about when it comes to security breaches. So and there comes the importance of cybersecurity and the invite to the boardrooms. Now, a board of directors want to know whether our company is safe. What is the position? So they don't want to know about the technologies, what is implemented in our organization. They just have one question to be answered: are we safe? Will we get attacked with ransomware? So which I am not able to tell them, give a reply.
Right, I can understand.
Our company is 100% safe. I cannot give a reply, but I can say that yes, we are in a better position, or the attackers have to go a little bit more advanced to get into my systems.
Superb.
Kind of things that we can give.
Yeah, so I think two incidents come to my mind after I hear you, Babitha. First one is, when we used to go for board meetings about 4 years ago, right? Cybersecurity was a topic which was discussed, but probably at the end of the meeting, last 10 minutes, right? And
exactly.
now suddenly, and I see Rupesh also nodding his head. I'll come to you, Rupesh. Now suddenly, the board meeting starts and they say that, can we discuss cybersecurity first? And second, in one of my favorite questions, I do a lot of I do a lot of conferences with kids, 10, 12th class plus universities. One of the favorite questions I ask them is, what's the safest computer in this world? And I get answers from mine to XYZ, right? And I tell them the safest computer is one which is shut down, which is probably put in locks, thrown in ocean. So there is no safest computer. But thanks for that, Babitha. With that, Rupesh, your initial thoughts, please.
So whenever actually any seminar comes up or any topics comes up, anybody, it's as you likely said, in board meeting is the classic example which you have given, which is a completely 180-degree shift. Earlier we used to get to present only as you said, last 10-15 minutes, or that's it. Right now it is not like that. Right now so many committees, like it is starting from your ISC committee, RMGO committee, so many committees, and everyday breaches coming. And my only agenda, as Babitha said, we can't say we are 100% safe, but my answer is also same as likely given by Babitha, stating yes, we are having some controls, and attackers will have to go and dig out more. My only one thought process is, I always believe not to spend so much on technology. Yes, it is important, but I'm keeping my fundamental clear. It's not only about technology. I am a strong believer of three pillars of information security, like people, process, and technology. So,
superb. Sir, hold that thought. We'll come to that. Vinit, working in probably one of the largest financial services organizations across which collects so much of personal data, right? I don't even have the exact number of cards that Mastercard issues or has globally, right? And I think it's the largest or maybe the second largest card network in the world. Your thoughts on the importance of cyber?
So absolutely, Jaspreet, I think Babitha and Rupesh have actually touched up a very valid point. Uh, and then I think you started with the notion of the report that you referred to. I think obviously things have changed over the last 2 years, 2.5 years. And primarily because of this pandemic, given the short that we are in at this point of time, obviously, where most of us are now remotely working from home, things have drastically changed for all of us, both from an infrastructure where we used to work as an organization to what we are sitting at this point of time. So I think there is a drastic shift, and the way some of the digital transformation adoption has happened over the last 1.5 years, it has given a more wider surface to some of the adversaries. And I will not say some of the adversaries, largely to most of the adversaries, which they have been able to really exploit. And again, as Rupesh mentioned, basics. I think some of the basics is still miss in some of these digital transformation journey that we have adopted. I think still the root passwords, the circulations, I think still some of those basic controls that because of the digital transformation, we have still missed on the. And then even I think because of the digital transformation that we have talked about, our focus has primarily changed to more of going onto the cloud, whereas the on-prem setup has taken a setback in for some of the organization. And that has also resulted in that the basic control that we used to talk about while we were sitting in an on-prem environment and really looking at it, I think most of the organization, they have lost their set of focus and diverted more on the digital adoption versus taking care of the controls which are there in their existing set of organizations. So I think that has also resulted in a lot of adversaries taking benefit of it and resulting in these ransomware kind of an attacks, because the patches are not getting updated onto these systems and on a periodic basis, or the testing has not been done. So I think these are certain pieces that have to be looked at.
Very interesting, right? Sorry, I'll keep giving some examples that I have seen from my practical experience. Talk about digital transformation. Every company today wants to implement bots, right? Have bots implemented, do a lot of work on RPA. But who's actually looking at security of these RPAs, right? End of the day, these are few IP addresses talking to each other. And the other problem is shadow IT, where chief marketing officer is setting up his own bots without even the CISO or the IT head knowing. So very, I think big problem that companies need to look at. We'll definitely, Vinit, come and talk about on-prem versus cloud. I think that's where you guys are the champions, and I'll get to learn a lot from all of you. Coming to you, Shashank, your initial thoughts, please.
Right, Jaspreet. So, I would, contemplate to all, my fellow CISOs who have been contributing on the cybersecurity front. So, as Vinit was saying, this digital, digitization, has kind of grown the cloud, front and everything. I would rather say that, because of pandemic, it has expedited basically this entire adoption of new age technologies, and maybe, even our application architecture is vastly, changing as of say 5 years back, when I was still controlling which ports should be opened on a firewall to allow integration with fellow bank or maybe some fellow B2B partner. But now all these calls are happening via API, via their RESTful APIs, and which do not require me to open certain ports. It's not the port level control. So our security controls are also kind of changing,
evolving, right?
Yeah, the whole strategy actually has went for a toss, because no more our perimeter firewalls and perimeter security is there. All are working from home. It's the endpoints which are like the new perimeter for my security. So even we have to think through the security strategy as to having next generation high grade firewalls. Really, we need them to protect the entire corporation, because the corporate has kind of diversified, and it's now every employee sitting at his home is my perimeter. And it is actually
excellent point.
Excellent, yeah.
So I met a board member, right, and we were trying to talk to him on cyber things, and he asked me a question for which I did not have an answer. He said, "Jaspreet, you guys put all kind of controls, etc., on my laptop, but what if I click a photograph of the data and send it out? What can you do, Jaspreet? What kind of controls?" And then he was in no mood to listen. He gave me 3-4 such examples, and I said, "I don't think that we can work with you on cyber." That means you're right? If you had an office where you had 2,000 employees and 3 branches, now suddenly you have 2,000 branches, right? Every home is like an office environment. How do you secure it? It's a very pertinent question. Nathan, your thoughts, please. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name correct.
That's right. Thank you so much, Jaspreet, for
Perfect.
including me in this conversation along with the light information cybersecurity professionals. I just second the thoughts what the people have, starting from Babitha to everybody's talked about Rupesh, Vinit, and it's all about bringing back the basics. Before that, I want to also add that the technological innovation about the AI, ML, and other things also give a lot of opportunity to the hackers' activities. So not only as the information cybersecurity professional or technology professional business leveraging the AI or ML, that even the hackers also leverage, which makes them to predict and then to do a targeted and fear attacks on us. So that's the one part where we need to be more worried about it. And as Vinit being the Mastercard person, he will be much aligned to the thought that there will be a lot of awareness to be created to the general public, which needs to go in larger scale to make sure that everybody is aware of the risks and threats available in the cyber world. So that came to my thought,
Making
which
everybody
makes sure
aware of
that the
risks.
cybersec and then the infosec is aligned to the business as well as the the public usage.
So two very, very big statements. Everybody is aware of the cyber risks is is huge, right? A lot of times we are aware, but we still do a lot of things. And second, business aligned to cyber. I think that's again a very, very critical point. Uh, Sorry to put you on the spot, Bhavesh. Last but not the least, today you control the largest database in India. Uh, everybody's information is available, has to be made available with you. So your thoughts on cybersecurity, right? And I don't envy your position at all, given the highlight that your organization is in newspapers every single day.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, before this call, Jaspreet, you were congratulating me and about my new role. So my initial thought is these days no one is spared with this cybercrime, whether it's a corporate, individual, kids, female, everyone. I will just share you my one experience. Generally, in last month of your notice period, you generally bit relaxed. But one day in morning, I found like one of the biggest technology partner who is supplying our, the main business application got ransomware hit. Suddenly everyone was on toe. So if you are a cyber professional, you should not relax. You should not be back relaxed. You have to be on your toe each and every day because you could be the next target. So, and co-panelists say like, look, I also believe our basics should be very strong. Then only we can prevent, that attack on our crown jewels.
Thank you, Bhavesh. I think the point about us being on our toes 24/7 actually resonates with me, because I read an article. I think it was there in one of the leading newspapers about a week ago, which said that cyber warriors. So they named cyber CISOs as cyber warriors, right? And said that these are also one of your frontline warriors now, along with soldiers, doctors, etc. Because United Nations for the first time, they recognize only three types of war, which is air, land, and water. But for the first time, they are changing their constitution to say that there will be a fourth kind of warfare also, which is the cyber warfare, right? So then, uh, very, very interesting point, Bhavesh. I'll come to you with more details. So, now I'll probably like to start with you only, Bhavesh. And you said one of your partners got hit by a ransomware attack, one of your technology partners, right? More and more organizations today work with a larger ecosystem. It's not only about you as an organization, but your entire ecosystem, your partners, your vendors, suppliers, auditors, etc., etc. How do you look at security of some of these entire ecosystem, please?
Okay, so when we say ecosystem, when that role of your partner is very important, then you have to create a framework to understand our own business and what kind of delivery mechanism, what kind of support you are taking from your partner vendors. Okay. And after this digitization, giving delivery in shortest, time frame, it increases the, involvement of your partner. As one of our co-panelists said, these days entire activity, happen on API, a different kind of integration, and you cannot do alone with your in-house team to deliver all these things. So you bound to take help of your partner, of your technology partner. Maybe someone is supplying you some technology, some supplying you some resources, all these things. So you have to keep so many things in mind while dealing with your third party vendors or your technology partners. So first thing that in my even previous company, I also created a risk framework for our third party vendors. We have created different kind of mechanism of that our third party vendors. We are working in a regulated industry, so RBI also giving a detailed guidelines about how to what all responsibility related to IT strategy committee related to third party, what security requirement related to third party. So you make sure your partner must adhere all your policies while serving you. That's the first thing. That's the first thumb rule.
Perfect. I'll come back to you on this, Bhavesh. Very, very important point. But we've got 3-4 more CISOs on the call, and one thing is having a policy. But I would probably go to Shashank, Rupesh, Nathan, Babitha, Vinit, anybody, right, who wants to now talk about implementation. I have seen huge emails from whenever we deal with organizations procurement team, they send me a huge 10-page policy and say, do you comply with our security policy? And I tell them, boss, we are your consultants, we are your auditors. I probably see your balance sheet even before rest of the world sees, right? So what are you talking to me about confidentiality? So the where the rubber meets the road, I think there is still some gap from an implementation perspective. Let's hear. Nathan, do you want to go first, please?
Yeah, thanks. So basically, outsourcing by itself is a great chapter to be dealt with. So, the vendors or the partners who we deal with, and while the financial organization focus on its core business, the outsourcing vendors really helps them with the allied activities where the financial partners are not that much exposed to. So that gives an opportunity for the financial industries to focus on the books, revenue growth, whatever you say, and you talked about the balance sheet. And at the same time, this also comes with the risks. The partners need to gear up to enhance the controls that you are. And they have to look at very holistically from financial industry perspective. Say, for example, along with the industry standards, partners should also follow the local regulations and regulators specific guidelines. The recent example that I can quote is the ATM switch providers have been given specific guidelines by Reserve Bank of India, apart from the banks. So they need to follow. One is that when it comes to the implementation part of it, instead of talking about the high level policy that we are referring all the way till now, my suggestion is to have the specific controls to be built in and share with them to make sure that they also follow the same level of controls which is prescribed by the regulators, the local laws, as well as the industry standards, and
Perfect.
also have a standard governance structure to measure and report.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Shashank, over to you. We started with a framework.
Right.
Now we've actually got into controls, right? Let's talk about implementation. Sorry, I'm just trying to make a working model, right?
Right. Yeah,
Some of our audience could take away.
Yeah, I understand. And both, Bhavesh, and I completely agree with you, Nathan, that we have to have.
What would you do? Would you give them controls? Would you set up a governance structure? Would you ask for an audit report?
No, just to make maybe my thought process is a little different, because I look at my house first, and then try to analyze which vendor is handling what or data of mine. So it's more of like data profiling of these partners, which is required at
classification,
our end.
Vendor classification.
From my end, as to if someone is handling my PII data or certain business critical data, that goes for a regular audit by even my third party vendor auditor, or even I will conduct myself an audit to them. So the severity of controls, as Nathan said, you have to have controls.
Perfect. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. Rupesh, Babitha, your thoughts on this?
Okay, here I just want to add on to what Nathan has told. Like we have controls, but the main problem we come across with when we are dealing with big third-party cloud providers or solution providers is that we have to go with the audit report shared by the third-party auditors. So that is a biggest challenge which we see. And even if we tell them that we need to audit, there are only a few people who really agree to that. And even if they are agreeing, they give a time frame that you can do it within 2 days or from within this window, you have to complete your audit. So that kind of constraints are the in reality, which is keeping us or taking a call to go, not to go for a cloud solution or have a trust on the third party. That is a good point.
Super. I agree. I was part of a client where they actually asked, they sent IBM questionnaire saying we want to audit you, uh, and it was probably India's largest client of IBM, but nothing could move from a audit perspective. Rupesh, your thoughts, please. What would you do in this scenario? And Vinit, I'll come to you after this.
Uh, Adding to Babitha's point, I also face the same issues, and especially in terms of whenever I'm asking for, I'm more concerned on whenever with the SaaS application, and mostly I'm more concerned on the what kind of VAPT they are doing, as well as what kind of source code review. Normally, I get a report of source code review, which is they are doing a functional review, not the security source code review. And the challenge is they are not giving you or not allowing you to do the VAPT because it's a shared model. So that is the biggest challenge. Otherwise, in most of the other cases, normally I prefer my own team to do a VAPT and my own team to do a source code review. But that is again, this is a challenge.
Perfect. I think Vinit, I'll probably twist this question a little bit. From your industry perspective, how is your organization today tackling the increasing security of regulators, especially the data protection regulators, and the rise of newer and stricter data protection laws? We have data localization. Some of your fellow card networks have been banned from issuing new cards, etc., etc. Right? What are your thoughts there, Vinit?
See, data protection today, with Jaspreet, when you talk about, I think it is primarily the most important piece for any organization today. PI data of any sort and form which has been kept across the organization, it is of primary importance for any organization, and even for the individuals who are whose data is there. So I think is from both point of view, it's very important. Given the set of regulations which are there today, I think a lot of us have to really ensure that we are complying to some of these pieces. I'm not certain to really comment on some of the peers in the industry.
That's okay. I don't want you to comment. Yeah.
Correct. But I think from a data protection standpoint, I think these are very primarily important. We have a well-designed data protection program. As you know, that Mastercard as an organization spread across close to 180 odd countries. And with the presence across 180 odd countries, you have various set of regulations across different industries and different sectors that we work with. So you have to ensure that we are compliant. And if we say that there is one-stop shop which is able to really cater to the needs of the entire organization, it might not hold true. So what we have done is we have local regional presence across each of the regions, and then these data protection officers are responsible of really ensuring that we are complying to each of the regulations and this standard. Even some of the partners and the vendors whom we are onboarding, they may impose some kind of a requirement on us, just stating that, okay, you have to ensure compliance to our set of requirements also from a policy standpoint, because they might also be working with several of their partners. So it's very important that we have to really manage some of those pieces on the ground. I think the one important piece on the previous question that you talked about on the third party, I think is not only the responsibility of an organization which is providing service to you, this is also equally the responsibility of you as an organization to really evaluate the control. Now, just relying on the report that have been shared by some of these organizations might not help you to the greater extent, because obviously today we know some of these audits, how the evidences have been produced in the real case scenario. So I think one thing which is very important is that you have to basically look at define some kind of a framework or a program across the organization, which basically actually scans the external network for you. Okay, the external end networks of these partners and suppliers, which gives you some level of comfort that, okay, from the IP addresses which are going to connect from their system to your system virtually, or they are at least secured. So anything which is getting connected to your environment, at least that level of comfort should come to you. So I think that is what I have.
And I agree to your point. I think especially where you spoke about various DPOs having local responsibilities, because China just passed a data protection bill, which is one of the stringent that I have come across. It just passed about a week ago. So I think very interesting times that we are living in, right? If every country starts making its own such stringent data protection law, you know, cross-border trade, what happens to that? I don't know. I'm not an expert on cross-border trade. But let's go back to my favorite topic now. From a last round perspective, and I'll probably start with you, Rupesh. Ransomware, right? We spoke about in the starting of the session, saying that nobody wants to get a look at how your organization being affected by ransomware. What are those 4 or 5 things that you would recommend from a CISO perspective, or that you do from a CISO perspective that helps prevent the ransomware attack? Or even if it happens, the catastrophic is limited.
Uh, First of all, I always prefer to go for preventive control. So whatever preventive controls we are having, like putting email APT solutions, uh, means host level, network level, whatever preventive controls which I prefer. Second is the awareness. And awareness, normally it's not like sending some few emailers or giving some training. So what I did is just to change and build a culture in awareness. I have shooted means I have put this idea across and shoot a inside employee engagement and shoot a video in for giving the awareness on the cybersecurity. So which actually helped me a lot. People are seriously taking the training. They are correlating, yes, this is my colleague in this video and all that. And also I tried to put and give some like a simple quiz and all that, Amazon vouchers and all that, just to keep engagement, and also put some yearly game with one of the vendor partners. So these are the things actually I'm focusing on the training, because human are the best and human are the worst as well for me as a firewall perspective. And secondly, on top of it, basically, if you want, actually, I would like to cover about overall. It's not only on the ransomware attack, but on the cyber insurance. Or we may take up later, or we may continue on this.
No.
So basically,
we can continue.
right? So basically, cyber insurance is now evolving, and we should take it. It's not only about you are doing all protection, you are doing everything right, you are doing everything correct, you have all preventive control, you have your process in place, you have people trained and everything. But as you likely said, like somebody with this digital adoption, somebody is going, marketing team is introducing their own SMS partner, own email partner, or they are doing this stuff which is not in knowledge of the CISOs, CIOs, or CTOs. So this risk framework is been increased. On the cyber insurance, I would like to only give a few thought process. Whoever is taking the cyber insurance, there are brokers available. However, we should be due diligent while taking the right set of policy. There are certain covers which most of the people, most of the insurance people are not covering. Earlier, they used to cover on the full limits, but nowadays they are trying to put some capping and all that. So whoever is taking the cyber insurance, we have to very much sure how many controls we are getting, what are the cappings we are getting, and what are the exclusions. So every claim you are getting some cutoff. So these are certain things you have to, and
It's like normal insurance, right? When you take a normal insurance, you don't read the insurance policy. But if you read that insurance policy, what I've learned is you never take insurance. You'll never take insurance then. There are so many writers there. Then you actually live with only 3-4 scenarios.
And And I also preferred one more important point in that most of the people are putting the forensic charges. However, just look for a pre-active forensic charges. What do I mean by this? Ki like you have taken the cyber insurance, but don't wait for like forensic people to come when the actual incident happened, and then you come to know ki boss you have not taken the right logs, some logs which has to be enabled which you have not done. So there is something called pro forensic charges. So that does the assessment what exactly types of log you have to enable, until what level you can keep that log. But of course there are certain data regulation, you can follow that as well, but there are right set of logs you have to enable. Most of the people are missing it, and then in actual scenario when the forensic people comes up, then that is the time actually there is a fight between getting the claim. Yeah.
Right. I think you've highlighted some very important topics, Rupesh. We can probably have 5 more conferences, one on cyber insurance, one on logging.
Yeah.
We can go on and on. Shashank, mm, okay, I'm okay with you talking about either cyber insurance or talking about ransomware, whichever you are comfortable. And then I'll come to you, Babitha.
Sure, Jaspreet. So I'm fine with ransomware. Starting with ransomware, to
Right.
add to what Rupesh has already suggested as key measures. Two things which I try which I give as an answer for ransomware is backup, and backup, and that is it. I mean, if you want to protect your data, you have to keep it securely backed up in a safe location, maybe on, as you rightly said, logged it, out of the internet, maybe on tape
Yes,
drives or some legacy magnetic era. That is where you will have to keep your data protected. I mean, that is something which has to be done, obviously, offsite, data backup and everything that has to be done. And secondly, with challenge of malwares, I mean, talking about just not ransomware, other malwares also. I guess it is the micro segmentation, and because we are all talking about microservices and application architecture and everything. So I guess network control, what we can do is more of like leverage micro segmentation, define as to what is really required for that particular need to know principle kind of exposure, so that we can really curtail the lateral movement of ransomwares and malwares, and really limit the aftermath of that ransomware effect. So that is one of the things.
So
Coming
need to know
cyber
again.
insurance,
Need to know again is something is very basic, right? And we started when we started, we said it's all going back to the basics. So thank you for making a very basic, but probably a very, very, very important point. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Yeah, on the cyber insurance point, as Rupesh said, it should be rightly thought through. I mean, it still requires a lot of maturity as far as my understanding of the products currently existing, being in the insurance sector, and really looking at other products which have really matured down the line. Cyber is still not mature. There is a lot of features like silent cyber, which no one touches upon, like how how a cyber attack would affect brand reputation value. We were doing it, I guess, remember, for some of the e-commerce giant who was trying to take the cyber product, but its entire brand is at stake, right? Because or their entire business is online, and if they are affected by any data breach, they might lose majority of their business, and even future customers won't log on to those e-commerce websites.
So I have a point there. I have a point there, right? I think any company today can still probably live with a financial loss.
Yeah.
But it is that brand loss. God forbid something happens to any Grofers, Flipkart, Amazon, or Netflixes of this world. Would you ever go and do transaction with them? You will think 10 times, right? If they've been mentioned in a breach, right? You can't quantify that. You can't say, this is a financial loss, right? So the brand reputation loss is much, much bigger.
Right. And it's actually just not cyber insurance. I mean, entire the cybersecurity itself, as we so-called term return on investment for digital initiatives and everything. For cyber initiatives, we cannot really quantify the return, because it is affecting the entire organization, its brand, everything. We are actually protecting not just one application.
It's the cost of doing business, right? You can't put a ROI to that.
All right. Yeah.
I totally agree, but I often get asked this question on what's the ROI of doing resilient security, etc. Being a consultant, I probably sometimes have to make up an answer, but the actual answer is it's like buying life insurance, right? When you buy life insurance, you don't calculate what's the ROI, right? It's the advantage that you're living back for your family. It's the cost of your living, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Rupesh. Over to you. Sorry, Nathan. Over to you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, thanks. So when it comes to ransomware, it's the rise of ransomware. The recent report that I read from the doc base, it says that it's a continuous rise of ransomware, and then FBI reports that almost more than 4,000 ransomware attacks happens on every day. So there are novel methods like the fileless malware, and then the latest lateral movements which is emerging, which gives a technological advantage for the ransomware attack. So there are a couple of points brought by our friend. So I also want to reiterate few points. One is that preventive control. Make sure that you have the backup, and you make sure that all your perimeters and the end devices are covered. At least you go towards the detection and response. Make sure that you have a cyber crisis management plan in place whenever there is a ransomware attack happen, what to do, what not to do, how to react, and how to contain, how to recover. All these should be documented, and it should have been also practiced to some extent, whatever wherever it is possible. So these are the very simple, or the essential steps to make sure that we manage the ransomware attacks. We cannot completely say that we will be completely out of ransomware attack. We have to manage how the ransomware attack, how manage the ransomware attack. And when it comes to cyber insurance, the cyber insurance is a very valid point that in case of any eventuality, how are you going to make sure the data is recovered? How are you going to make sure that the cost of recovery is also managed? How are you making sure that the notification goes? How do you make sure that your regulators as well as the general public, your customer consumers are also made aware? And what is the confidence that you are going to build upon? All these put together is a major vital steps that I would say to manage the ransomware.
I think very important point on how do you manage the entire piece. It's not about one time just plugging this. Before I come to you, Bhavesh, I'll like to go to Babitha. Babitha, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I totally agree with Nathan and other friends. But the point which I would like to tell here is that insurance will never cover the reputation. They will cover only the actual loss. So here the ROI again is a matter, because what the loss cost due to a ransomware, it is very difficult to fix, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. And whenever I get into a discussion with the cyber insurance people, after every time they tell that if you want to recover a server, they will pay for the server. But the data in that, how we will quantify the cost for that? So there is always a gap between the insurance and what is actually do in our day-to-day life. Then coming to ransomware thing, I request everyone to do a tabletop kind of exercise to feel like we have a ransom attack and how we will work on it. And we have a crisis management plan and incident response plan also with us. And we initiate that plan and see how far, what will be the return back time for a system to be taken from the backup. Because now we do from DR and DC migrations only. But we never try to do from taking from the backup and restoring it and making it live. When it comes to a ransomware, that is a scenario where we have to back up from our stored data. So whether that backup data can be reused, how many of us might be checking that? So all these are the steps which we have to think about when we are doing the tabletop exercise. And as rightly said, human is the weakest link, and the right detection is a time-saving process or to reduce the loss. So people who, once we come across with some kind of malicious activity happening in a system, immediately the person using that system should intimate the responsibility. So that kind of awareness we have to create among our employees to tell that not to be scared or don't feel like you have done something wrong. Please come up to us and tell what has gone wrong. We are here to help them. So that kind of message should reach to all our employees and staff so that we can build a strong security culture among ourselves.
Wow, very interesting. Saying that we are here to help, rather than hiding that you've been attacked, right? Which is 99.9% what people are doing, right? In case you even get an email which looks suspicious, organizations actually encourage employees to forward that email to the central head desk team. But a lot of employees are also afraid, right? Like Bhavesh in the starting pointed out that it's a larger society problem, larger awareness problem, rather than a organization's problem, right? It affects everybody. So Bhavesh, I'd like to end this ransomware piece with you, because you started by saying that in last 1 month you fought off a ransomware attack. So what are few learnings? I'm a huge believer of the fact that you learn the most from playing on the pitch rather than playing practice matches. So what were the few learnings that you had? Was there a panic situation?
Yeah, Jaspreet. So I will just say a couple of points, because there are lots of things with the other co-panelists has already
Right.
explained about ransomware. So first thumb rule is, look, ransomware is going to stay here. It's not going anywhere. So that's the first thumb rule. Second point that is very important aspect is, look, whatever security setup, security framework we have in our organization, that's a more a reactive thing as of now. Fine. So to prevent ransomware in our organization, we have to think, proactive measures. So my own belief is we should introduce, like a threat hunting or other thing, like some preactive controls to protect our environment for this ransomware. Third thing that is very important aspect, one of our co-panelists has already explained in a very good way, that is awareness in our organization related to these malicious things are not even 10%. They know, look, there are some kind of cyber attacks happens, but how these ransomware attacks happens, it's because of user is going to click us some malicious link without thinking a bit on like what kind of link is this. Fine, they're simply going to click and it downloads some kind of malware, and then they don't even think to report someone, like, okay, I did this. So this is the third thing, that is awareness is very important aspect. As far as my learning is concerned, look, whenever we have a ransomware attack, we in our organization, or maybe some of your partner, which is managing your business application, you have to keep a few things in mind. How you are going to react about your regulations, how you are going to react related to your legal stuff, whether you are going to file a case, communication related to this ransomware. These things are equally important, because overall these things is going to impact your brand value. And on insurance part, look, I have in my last 17 or 18 year career, I have gone through to deal with in my two previous organizations for this cyber insurance. They are not going to cover your brand value as well as value of your data. Whatever you just lost, they are going to cover that thing only. So insurance is not mature as of now in our India. That's my point on that insurance.
Sir, I do a lot of work with a lot of Western so-called advanced countries. Believe me, cyber insurance there also is not much better. It's an evolving field, I would like to say.
Correct.
So Vinit, sorry for putting you again on the spotlight, but almost all the panelists before you have spoken about awareness, right, on how awareness is important, etc., etc. While we move to the last leg of this esteemed session, on one hand we are talking about users don't have basic awareness, right, and security is as good as the weakest person in your organization. And on the other hand, Babitha, Rupesh, and some other spoke about, cloud, AI, ML, cognitive, and I don't even know what are the new buzzwords every single day that you wake up and hear about them. How do you balance both of these, right? Because RPA is important, but if I don't have the right security framework and user awareness, RPA is of no use. Your thoughts, Vinit, and any other thoughts as we start wrapping up would be great.
So I think I'll just pick up the example that Bhavesh and the team have talked about ransomware. I think we touched upon a very important point, that there are controls which are still missing. So if we go back to almost like 15 years back, when we were used to talk about BS 7799, It was the standard which came into light and everybody started talking about information security. The purpose of adopting that standard at that point of time was to actually demonstrate to the customer that, okay, we have sufficient set of controls to be more of we can be called as an infosec secure organization, right? But when we talk about today, I think some of those documents that we were created, I think have to be adopted as a practice to really overcome some of the existing challenges that we're. I think even at that point of time, almost like 15 years back, we built up like incident response policies and processes, but and then we tested it, but the testing was at a very primary stage. Now I think the evolution has come to some of those standard and practices where we are sitting today, and then this is where we have to really thought through, not basis what has happened 15 years back, but again looking ahead after 5 years, what could be the rational or proportionate and adversely could look at your organization. So I think that is how you have to start looking at some of these pieces now. Coming to your set of questions which you just asked, I think you brought a very great point. I think things have changed a lot today, and given the set of environment that we are in, we have to start looking at some of these controls, not from just from an adoption standpoint, but you have to follow it religiously like a Bible today. You have to make sure that whatever you are implementing in an organization and you have put on grounds, you are day in, day out following it to the core. Otherwise, any kind of processes that you put into a organization for any kind of an awareness program or something, until unless you have not embedded it into the root of the organization, it is not going to help. If you are just doing an awareness program just for the set of employees who does not have nothing to do with like secure development, and you're just trying to impart training to these guys on the secure development code practices, I think it's unfair to do that. I think you have to pick up the right set of audience. You need to understand what their job nature is, customize your training program based on the requirement, make them not only abreast with the security high level awareness, but just get a little depth in terms of like, if in case the team is involved into doing some kind of a DevSecOps, they should understand what the SQL injection is, what all are different types of SQL injection. There are 11 type of SQL injection attacks that can happen. Not only it's just SQL injection as a word does not pertain today, right? You have to understand the nitty-gritties of these SQL injection attacks that are there. So until unless you do not bring your set of team to that speed, obviously your team may miss on some of these practices to be adopted into the overall framework that you're designing or the application that you're designing for the organization. And any of the adversary can then further exploit it to their set of advantage. So I think it's important that the culture has to be built, and the culture cannot just be built for the set of employees, but it has to go to the root of the organization.
A very valid point, Vinit. I somewhere read a quote saying, in a cyber or a crisis situation, guard is as important as the CEO of the organization. Hence, their training needs have to be evaluated, and they both have to be treated very, very differently with different content. You can't share the same kind of training awareness for any random employee. Like you said, it has to be customized nowadays. Thank you so much for this, Vinit. Nathan, any closing comments from your side on the emerging technologies piece?
Yeah, Jaspreet. So the emerging technologies in the sense like, when it comes to cyber, day in, day out, we are having a lot of emerging technologies which are coming out, starting from the robotics to the RPA that we talked about, the IoTs, and then the DevSecOps. We are coming up with a lot of technologies which are emerging, as well as the same way the threats are also emerging. So we have to make sure that the threats are properly addressed to make sure that the technologies are leveraged to the maximum to the business advantage. That's the only thought that I have about the emerging technology.
Super. Babitha, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, when it comes to emerging technology, what I would suggest is like there's no need for us to simply rush into some technology because it has come into existence. First, before taking the technology, we should ensure that whether it is required and how it will accelerate our business. And based on that, then the second thought will how that will secure our data and our business. That is security being the most important thing. We have to ensure that how this technology will help us to give a secured service. So if we take these three things into existence, I think with the new technology, we can move ahead.
Super. I think we've come almost to the end of this panel discussion. Thank you so much, fellow panelists. It was such a privilege talking to you, whether it was talking about awareness, whether it was talking about ransomware attacks, looking at new technologies, or for the fact about cyber insurance. It's been a real privilege speaking with all of you. Be safe, stay healthy. All the best. Thank you.